You all here? We'll get started. Call a meeting to order. Roll call, please. Here?
Here. 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 Here.
As always, we have our invocation by our spiritual advisor, Mr. Gene Goodsky. Thank you. Okay, we've got approval of the agenda.
One deletion, George Strong with the amendment. Since we've already approved it, we just need to sign the amendment. And
Any other additions or deletions to the agenda? If not, I'll call for a motion to approve with that change to delete George Strong. Moved by David. Is there a second? Second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Minutes from the special meeting 11/7/18 at Lake Vermilion. I do want to make a comment with regards to the Smithsonian National Museum donation. It was for the American Indian Veterans Memorial that they're trying to put on there. I was at a meeting last week with MIGA, and the Shakopee tribe donated $1 million towards that project. Or that Shakopee did donate $1 million towards that American Veteran Memorial. So. There's no other questions or comments on the meeting minutes from November 7. I'll call for a motion to approve. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're gonna move?
Regarding the meeting on November 7th, regarding the residential lease for Ray Thompson and Rebecca Thompson,
Oh, okay.
is what are the plans? I know he wants to put his trailer on the lot, but he's still holding, so he doesn't know what's going on.
I believe there was the issue with regards to the water system.
Okay.
And I think that was, Joel, can you reiterate a little bit, maybe up here, what the water system issue is with the Ray Thompson, the lot that he got last time?
So I believe it was in 2012 that Mitz and Dave's house burnt, 12 or 13. Anyway, we were told to demo that site. So after we demoed it, we were also told that nothing was to be built there again. The council had told us that. So when we ran the new water line, the water main on that road, we did not run a stub system, a curb stop into that lot because we were told it wouldn't be built on again. So right now there is not water going into the lot. There's water at the street on the other side of the street, but in order to get water, we'll have to cut the street, dig up the street, hook in, and then go over to that lot.
And at that time, it was mentioned that Ray could apply for the IHS.
If he's never been served before by IHS, he can fill out an application and they will hook that up for him. They will pay for it.
Would they be able to just put the trailer there just for the time being?
That's up to you guys.
Okay, we'll let Andy come in on that one.
There is one other issue, and that is that the council has approved the lease, but the lease then goes to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and they have to approve it. And it's been submitted. We're still waiting to get that approval back from the BIA, and sometimes they're just pretty slow.
So, how long will that take?
I don't know, sometimes they can take weeks and weeks and weeks. We'll follow up with them. I know Barb had contacted them again just recently.
Okay, yeah, then I think the other thing is to call Ray and let them know that it's going to take time. So,
Yes.
all right, thank you.
And then Joel, if you could let Ray know about the IHS application and maybe send it to him or whatever. Okay. Call for a motion to approve the minutes from 11/7.
Move.
By Chief, is there a second?
Second.
By Travis, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
By new staff.
Okay.
We have Donna sitting in for Angela for the contract with the St. Louis County.
Good morning, Donna.
How's everyone?
Good. Cold.
Ready to eat lots of turkey and ham and pies? And
Yeah.
then sleep it off watching.
Put on 10 pounds in 2 days.
Yeah, that's right. So before you is, you have a grant application to the St. Louis County Health and Human Services to fund a position within the Family Services. And this would be a position that has been with the tribe for 25 plus years. So it's just kind of a reoccurring grant application, and it funds currently Whitney
Okay.
Humphrey's position. So
It's for the family-based program, and it's to offer services prior to hopefully keep children in the homes with families. And
Yep.
I see it's with, one of my questions was, is it just on reservation, but it's within 60 miles?
yep,
Both Nett Lake and Vermilion, 60 miles.
yep, we use the contract service area.
Are there any questions for Donna?
If there's any changes that need to be made to this contract, would you bring it forth to the tribal council for approval, or?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You hadn't, having any problems with it before? Any problem with, no?
No.
Okay.
And Mark's reviewed the contract, Donna?
Yes, he
Okay.
has.
If there's no other questions, can we call for a motion to approve the contract with St. Louis County Department of Health and Human Services?
I'll move.
By Shane, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Chief, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried. Thank you, good job.
Next, we have Kim Greiner with a Christmas fund match for 2018.
Morning, Kim.
Morning. For the last 2 years, we've had a program to encourage savings for, on the employees' behalf for Christmas. And so we renew it, we vote, I bring it to the council to see if they want to do it each year. So for 2018, there was for the year, there was 106 employees that had started the program, and they collectively had put away $106,871.21 on their own, with a potential match of $24,000. But of those 106, 3 left employment during the time, 6 stopped their deductions on their own, and 17 of those people withdrew their money before the end of the compliance period.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 80 employees that were eligible for a 25% match. And the RTC ended up matching $21,252.38. And of those 88, 33 people did receive the maximum match of $400. The council votes on this each year. If the council approves it, it would be paid out it gets paid out in November of 2019, and it would be a line item in the 2020 budget. And so I'm recommending the same guidelines as the past year, but the only thing that we have to change is that we have a form that they go in and have the bank verify that they actually have a Christmas Club account, because some people went in and just opened an account, not a Christmas Club account. And there's restrictions on Christmas Club accounts at financial, they're called special savings accounts. I think that will eliminate some of the confusion, because when we went to verify with the financial institutions that they still had their money in there, they were reporting back that they didn't have any in there, and then it caused hard feelings, you know. But it was in the instructions it said they had to go open up a Christmas Club account, but you know, what happened between there and there. So that's why I said a piece of paper verifying from the financial institution would probably eliminate a lot of the hard feelings. And then, so if the council approves to continue this program, I would recommend budgeting about 30,000 out of the RTC budget out of the 2020 budget.
I got a couple of questions. Where does this money come from for this?
It's out of the RTC general fund.
Okay, and this doesn't interfere with any other programs?
Pardon me?
It doesn't take away from any other programs? Nope. No? Okay, that's all I got.
This Christmas Club match fund was started basically when we removed the COLAs from staff that they received every December. That did end up to be quite a dollar amount. So in lieu of that, I thought that Kim came up with a really good idea. Staff with regards to the Christmas fund match. So that gives people the ability, because I know a lot of people depended on the COLAs at that time for Christmas. And so this was, I think it's a really good idea. And, you know, up to $400 match. So.
Yeah, and the when the examiners come into the credit union, they like it too, because it's teaching people to save, and they think it's a good program. The employees don't have to use our credit union. They can use any institution that has a Christmas Club account, but they thought it was a good way to promote savings and planning.
Any other questions or comments for Kim? And to approve the 2018 Christmas Fund Match program?
I'll move.
Oh, okay. Moved by Shane,
Second.
second by Chief. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Thank you, Kim. Good job.
Next, we have Billy with the Head Start Policy Council rep.
Morning, Billy.
Morning. Head Start needs to have a tribal council rep for the policy council, and previously it was Ray Tudloff, so just requesting that one be appointed.
Anybody want to be on the policy council for Head Start?
Well, if there's a height requirement, I'm out of it. I'm kidding. I'd be interested.
Shane?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody okay with Shane? Motion to approve Shane as the Head Start Policy Council rep.
Move.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
They
Next,
do
we
have booster
Louise.
seats there too, so you'll be okay.
Elder gift
Good
card
morning,
request.
Louise.
Good morning.
Good job, Billy.
Okay, well, today I am requesting a sole source request for our elder gift cards to be purchased at Northern Eagle Federal Credit Union.
And that's in the amount of $30,210.
Yes, that is 795 elders at $35 a card, plus the $3 fee per card comes to $30,210.
When are they looking to receive the cards? When are you gonna mail them out?
What's that?
When are we gonna mail them out, the cards, if it's approved?
When we get the cards.
Okay.
We're trying to get them out as soon as possible.
Okay.
So once it's approved, you'll start the process?
Yes.
Okay. And it's in the budget.
Yes.
Do we have a motion to approve the sole source request from Northern Eagle Federal Credit Union for elder gift cards?
Move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Good job.
Next, we have Shane with a discussion on the Bois
Okay.
mineral rights.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, what happened to, is that the one we?
George is not on the agenda.
How this came about here, the discussion on the Bois mineral rights in the 1854 treaty area was that we were at a meeting last Friday down at the 1854 Treaty Authority office. And one thing I'd like to point out, is that, I've seen it on Facebook where it's people are saying Bois gave up their mineral rights. And myself, I looked at it and I thought about it and I went along with it. But then I started questioning it. Where's the document that says that? Show me the document that says that. Show me the document that shows the chief or chiefs, not this chief, but the chiefs that signed that document that gave up our mineral rights in the 1854 treaty area. What council signed it? And I've asked that question. Nobody has produced anything. Now, if we look at the 1854 treaty itself and the language in there, it's very detailed. It shows who signed it and what they were, and they knew what they were signing. I'll read a little bit from it. This is on page 3, Article 12. Second paragraph. They shall have the right to select their reservations at any time hereafter under the direction of the President, and the same may be equal to, in extent in proportion to their numbers to those allowed the other hands and subject to the same provisions. Now, this is talking about Bois Forte. It's talking about us. And I did ask that question at the 1854 office meeting, and we did get a email from the tribal attorney regarding it, and I'll read the second paragraph of his email, which is dated Tuesday, November 20th, 2018 at 10:26 a.m. There is no specific language in the treaty that the signatory bans ceded the land and everything on and under the land, but it is clear that the legal impact of the treaty of cessation was to enable the United States to obtain the original Indian title to land so that the U.S. could make it part of the public domain and thus subject to federal laws providing for the settlement and sale of public lands. And then on the last part, the last page, the last paragraph, the focus of the bans in relation to the mining proposals has been to insist that the federal and state agencies that issue permits for mining or perhaps leases to develop state or federal minerals take the existence of the ceded territory's rights to hunt, fish, and gather into consideration at every step of the process. The argument has been that permits or leases must have conditions that prevent loss of habitat as well as direct and indirect harm to natural resources. It is an important aspect of protecting treaty resources that the ban should continue to support and preserve or pursue as the proposals move forward. And I was looking for languages within this book. It's called the American Indian Law Desk Book. And there's something in there, but I can't remember, I couldn't find it, that says that treaties shall be interpreted from the Indian, treaties should be interpreted from the Indian's point of view. And I think we need to get to the bottom of this and find out what was actually, if we actually gave it up or not. Because if we didn't give up our mineral rights, then what? You know, it's you know, we gotta protect our treaty rights. We gotta protect the 1854 area. Question?
Well, actually, just a comment, kind of came up in a discussion I had with 1854 myself at a meeting, and one of the ideas or thoughts I had on it was, first of all, figuring out what the rights are, but is it possible to negotiate a way that Bois, Forte, or other bands that within that 1854 ceded territory will give permits, be a part of the permit process. In other words, they would have to get permits from us, not just the state of Minnesota or state DNR or whoever, because that is our land. And like you said, those are our resources that are there. And so why shouldn't we have a say in what's done out in that area that's going to affect our resources for 7 generations ahead is how we're supposed to look at it. And so that was, you know, of course we have to go back to the legal question again as to what our rights are. But I still think even if they said our mineral rights and were gone, we still have that right for our resources in perpetuity forever. So personally, I would like to see the council be more active, proactive in becoming a part of the process of the mining. Because if we look around at everything that's happened, you know, the wild rice, we're working on right now the cleanup in Spirit Lake, you know, U.S. Steel, and there's, you know, we can just go on and on and on and on. And now the copper nickel mines and, you know, the 100% surety that it's going to pollute the waters. It's not a question of if, it's when. And all the data has shown that. It will pollute the water. So anyway, those are, you know, my thoughts on it. And I have some other legal stuff I'll pass on to you, Shane, afterwards regarding that question.
Okay. You know, I think that we, you know.
Thank you, Lorna.
We need to take this, you know, one step at a time as we start to sort through this and get to the truth. You know, what's the truth? Because, you know, I know we need to take into consideration, you know, what could happen, you know, what could be the consequences for this, but also look at it 20, 50 years down the road. Also take that into consideration.
Okay. I know that the mining companies, and we raise this issue with them when they meet with the tribes, you know, with regards to what's going on. They do their environmental assessments. Our 1854, both Portage, Fond du Lac, and Bois Forte's environmental staff also hold them to key with regards to the permitting and even the MPCA. It was said in our 1854 meeting that our staff, meaning the tribes and the 1854 authority, kind of are the watchdogs for the MPCA, because we want to ensure that the environment is going to be safe, and that they, you know, that's our number one priority is Mother Earth. And so the other thing is that these mining companies also need to understand that when they expand, they keep taking our hunting and fishing rights away. They're taking that land that we want to either gather, hunt, or whatever. And so, you know, those arguments have been made with them. And I do want to say something, and Shane brought up, it's nice that Shane brings this up, because I think it's been an issue ongoing, but that nobody's really asked it, or it's never really been discussed or whatever. But I did ask Mark to give us an opinion or some background on it. And because we always wonder about whatever happened to the mineral rights. And so he actually got it from the Why Treaties Matter excerpt. And the Indian Claims Commission also played a part in this situation, and it said that they considered the compensation that was due to the signatory bands in docket 18U and in 1971 entered additional findings with respect to how it arrived at the value of the land. In its discussion of valuation, it's acknowledged that the plaintiff bands and the defendant, the United States, had both raised the value of mining potential in their arguments about how much compensation was due. But this is what the Indian Claims Commission decided. The commission has gone back in time and tried to avoid the use of hindsight, since history reveals that the area did provide substantial mineral wealth. What was discovered years after the cessation were huge deposits of iron ore. There had been hints of existence as early as the 1700s, but the extent of it was not realized until long after the valuation date. Other minerals such as gold and copper were also sought both prior to and after the valuation date, which was January 10, 1855, the date of ratification of the treaty. There is evidence that a knowing buyer would have legitimately had interest, expectation, and some excitement at the thought of the possibilities for future mineral discovery in Area 332. This did lead to some enhancement of the value of the area. It says that the bands in the U.S. understood that the minerals were seeded along with the timber and soil on the surface of the land. Furthermore, it's consistent with the historical record of the cession that obtaining the minerals in the 1854 ceded territory, which was referred to as Area 332 in the Claim Commission decision, was a primary goal of the United States. The report to the negotiators following negotiations at La Pointe included this statement: "We then obtained from the Lake Indians a cession of their portion of the country on the terms stated in the treaty. The district embraces all the mineral region bordering on Lake Superior and Pigeon River and is supposed to be by far the most valuable portion of the country." The value was considered by the Indian Claims Commission, which noted that one historian characterized the cession of September 30, 1854, which ceded the subject triangle north of Lake Superior as a miner's proposition. However, for purposes of valuation of the land, the commission found that the Vermilion Lake area began to be accepted as rich in iron ore, but that it was not until the mid-1860s and therefore after the 1855 valuation date. Again, the key is that the band ceded in the Claims Commission case that the minerals and the timber were ceded to the United States. So it is a history lesson. There's a lot to be learned, and Shane, I appreciate you bringing this up, because it is an issue for tribal members, and I think it's not only just Bois Forte, but I think Grand Portage and Fond du Lac with regards to this. So I want to say miigwech to you for
Again, I would just like to point out that, you know, with that, the treaties need to be interpreted from the viewpoints of the Indians. They need to look at it from our standpoint. They can't look at it from their standpoint because it benefits them. You know, and you know, they talk about compensation. If they contaminate and pollute the 1854 area, no amount of money is going to be able to compensate us for that.
That's correct, and we want to make sure that they follow everything to the T. Oh, go ahead, Lorna.
Well, that's kind of part of what I was saying, is that, yeah, we do have the 1854 that works with and watches, and actually Tippo, we kind of watch what goes on
Tippo
and stuff.
does too, yeah.
But they set the guidelines. So, you know, my proposal is, why can't we set the guidelines? We just had the big fight over the sulfate levels, you know, the wild rice and stuff. But where do our bans, where is our power?
Our sovereignty.
Where it lie? And I just think if the state of Minnesota, which wasn't even established as a state, you know, after we were here and we had the treaties, how do they get the more right to say how things are going to be, and we don't? I mean, regardless of the minerals and, you know, the extraction, but the pollution and how it's done and how often, and the money, if we want to go there, you know, I just think, you know, we need to be a little more proactive on it and find out, push our sovereignty. we don't exercise it, we lose it, you know, so.
Good point, Lorna, good point. And I think that even with the wild rice sulfate issue, the Federal Clean Water Act is our federal, is the key with regards to the sulfate issue, because the states have to abide by the Federal Clean Water Act. So that's kind of our safety net right now. But, you know, there are things that I think we can do to, as our sovereign nation, to make sure that what we've got for our next 7 generations to come is still going to be there, with mining or without. You know what I mean? So, good points, Lorna. Thank you very much for your comments.
Yeah, I'd just like to say, you know, we got to keep on this, keep searching out for the truth.
Okay, moving on. Thank you, Shane. Corey?
Next, we had delegates, because we asked for some alternates after the initial opening period closed. And then we opened it up again, and we had, let's see, we had Sharon Day, Terry Drift, Shaw Day Gulcher, Terry Giesick, and Donna Hoffer apply for alternates. And I think that's a good idea, because as we know, at the last MCT delegate meeting, came upon us rather quickly, and a lot of people had either meetings or they were out of town for some things and weren't able to make it. And so with having the alternates, we would ensure that we have 10 people there.
Yep.
For the 5 that applied after second.
With the delegates for the Constitution Convention reform process, the TEC did say up to 10 delegates, but with Bois Forte, our thinking is that, you know, the more people involved, the better, because like Corey said, we had our first, the Constitution delegates had their first meeting at Black Bear, and we had only, how many that attended?
7.
7. So we know that people are busy. Sometimes they have health issues. Some may move out of the area, so we would like to have our numbers be larger, but at least have up to 10 at our meetings. And the meetings are open to the public whenever they have them. So, you know, that's our way of thinking with that, because it's going to be a long process. I believe they did discuss a possibility of 4 years, up to 4 years possibly. So the more the merrier, I say. Are you guys okay with adding these 5 individuals onto the motion to approve to add Sharon Day, Terry Drift, Shaw Day Gulcher, Tara Giesick, and Donna Hoffer to our...
Move.
Moved by Travis. Is there a second? Second by Shane. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, silent, motion carried.
Last thing I had on here was the appointment to the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission. Brooke was on that for us, and she has since left employment. And before, we've had generally employees from the planning department, so I did talk with Andy. I know Bill Whiteman has been on us in the past. Andy's been on us in the past. Sidra's been on us in the past. We just had Brooke on there, and now we need to replace her seat. So, Andy, I do believe, talked to Sidra.
Yeah, maybe I can just give a little bit of
I was
background,
gonna ask,
particularly
yeah.
for the 2 new council members. So the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission is one of several regional development commissions in the state of Minnesota. The state's divided up into different regions, and it's basically a planning type organization, and the membership on the commission consists of representatives from the counties, in this case in northeastern Minnesota, representatives from municipalities, from townships, and then also from tribal nations. As Corey mentioned, Bois Forte has, going back over 20 years, has typically had a representative, and typically from the planning department, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. I know currently Fond du Lac has a representative, Jason Hollanday, who was my counterpart there. He's the planning director. Grand Portage, their representative is Norm Deschamps. So it could also be a tribal council member. It really could be whomever the council decided could represent the tribe's interests. I will say that I think it has been a useful organization. It's a great networking opportunity. It's a great way for us to get information about different grants that might be available out there. One example I will give is that many years ago, early on, when we were looking at trying to set up a transit program, we received technical assistance from ARDC, which led to us getting the initial grant that allowed us to set up Big Woods Transit. So it does pay dividends to have some representation. The commission meets quarterly, so it's just 4 meetings per year, usually in Duluth. Sometimes they'll rotate that, but it's usually in Duluth. They do provide, they do pay mileage for whoever the representative is, but they don't pay any per diem or anything like that. So it would just be a commitment of time for 4 meetings per year to attend. So it's really up to the council. I did discuss this with Sidra. She is willing to serve again, but again, totally up to the council. Okay?
Thank you, Andy, for that.
You're welcome.
Do we have a motion to approve Sidra to the Arrowhead Regional Development Commission? And this will be for the term of January 2019 to 22. Them in 2 days.
Move.
By Chief, is there a second? Second by Dave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Congratulations, Sidra.
Nothing else on the agenda?
Okay, call for a motion to adjourn.
Move.
Second.
Oh, holy cow. Motion made by Travis, second by Shane. All in favor
Aye.
signify by saying aye. Holy. Opposed, silent, motion carried. I'd like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving on behalf of the Tribal Council, and hope you have safe holidays with your families and really enjoy yourselves and eat a lot. Miigwech.
Yep.
Thank you.